let's go straight in. First question that I've got for you is, what are the Sabian symbols all about?
Well, the Sabian symbols are images. They were channeled by L.C. Wheeler in 1925 in the company of Mark Edmund Jones. And then they worked on it for about 30 years or something. So it's quite established over a 100-year period and becoming increasingly popular. Now, these images give a clue as to the particular meaning of the degree itself rather than the zodiac sign. So, for example, I'm the 16th degree of Taurus, and my image is an old man attempting vainly to reveal the mysteries. Now, that should tell me something about myself because it's the sun, and you can look at other planets as well. Um, the main thing to do is to shift the awareness that we have in perceiving what the planet is. It gets us to focus on the planet itself much more specifically. So I'm not just a Taurus. I'm this old man attempting to reveal the mystery. So that's how I think of myself, and that changes quite a lot about self-image.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And can you tell us more about you, James? Who are you? How did you come to teach this course, and what's your background?
Well, I've been a long time astrologer. I started studying astrology um, years and years and years ago, and I've been a counselor. I have different types of counseling experience, most particularly Sufi. I've studied in depth in the Sufi tradition, and I've been looking at Sabian symbols within astrology. I first came across them in the 80s, actually, and I've been aware of them, but not really made the connection until some 15 years ago when I've been studying them in great depth. I mean, I've really given myself over to make this my specialty. And recently I've been talking to other people and teaching and using them in counseling situations as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what topics and practices does the course actually cover?
The the focus we're giving is to look at the inner planets first. So we'll actually start with Saturn and then go Jupiter and so on until we get to the sun. So each of the individual planets in my horoscope and your horoscope will be studied according to its Sabian symbol. Therefore, we'll look at the planetary meaning first and then the meaning of the Sabian symbol and see how the one acts through the other. And we'll do this with feedback, in the company of other people, and there'll be sort of commentary about it so that we can really learn what our planets are in detail.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose how all of that influences each and every one of us and the impact it has on us. Um, that's great. So, what about the course structure? What are the requirements? What are the time commitments that that are
Yep.
necessary?
Each of these courses, I'm going to be doing a series of different courses, and this one will be the first in that series, and it will be structured around the number of sessions being seven. I like to study things in seven. So we meet seven times, Thursdays, UK time, 5 o'clock. And there will be 2 hours available. In the first half an hour, I'll talk about the planet itself and what it might mean in the Sabian symbol. And then we'd go into breakout rooms, meet in small groups, maybe 2 or 3 people in a group, so that there's a lot of attention given to everyone about
Mm-hmm.
discovering the position of their planets and Sabian symbols. And then we'll come back and have a sharing group in the third um, part. And then in the fourth part, I'll be open to questions and answers about anything really.
Mm-hmm. What about, are there any opportunities for personalized guidance and support if individuals and students who take the course want that?
Not within the course itself, but certainly I'll be offering the possibility of doing a Sabian alchemy process for certain students if I feel it's right. for us to work together, and that's a much more intense personal study that is centered around the idea of dealing with whatever is going on in your life, whether that's a problem or enacting a vision. So that's the Sabian alchemy process. And you yourself, Diana, you're offering supportive guidance to people. So if they want an emotional process or sense of care and well-being, then people can talk to you about that. So give support. It's just not written into the fabric of the course.
Indeed. And what about the community and the student network? How will students connect with each other? Are there opportunities if they want to connect outside of the lesson?
Well, we haven't set it up yet, but there's any number of ways on social media that we can do that. One of them might be a WhatsApp group, for example, where people can just have questions and answers amongst themselves, not particularly supervised. Another might be a forum on the website. It's a work in progress. We haven't really decided what is the best option yet, and maybe in conversation during the course we can work something out. But yeah, we'll develop a community side, I hope.
Great. And what's it all about, James? What is the course's core philosophy, the approach to spirituality? Why would we want to be part of this course?
Well, I could give you the short answer. The long answer would take me hours, if not days. I love astrology. It's one of the most wonderful inventions of the human mind. Its language is so subtle and rich. You can summarize a whole pattern of human behavior by a phrase like, he's got Pluto square Mars. And okay. And those people that know that language know so much about that person just in 10 seconds. So the language of astrology is so rich and wonderful. And the practice of it can be that way. I think it rather triggers the emotion and even the psychic ability of the astrologer and to some extent the client, so that what occurs, it may well be a channeling. And I feel very often when I'm giving a reading, horoscope reading, I'm actually channeling, not remembering. So I think that astrology works on that level. The language of astrology is so magical that it awakens a facility within us. And this is because the left and the right brain are both having to operate. It's not logical. A computer could do it if it was. It's not. You have to bring in your intuition. And when you've got the rational and the non-rational aspects of the mind working towards the same aim, they try to communicate to each other, of course, and that goes through the third eye, as we call it. And that opens up a deeper level of perception. And I think that's what astrology's best service is. It just awakens us to a higher level of spiritual understanding. And that's the second thing. I regard astrology, and a lot of people do, as their spiritual gift, their spiritual tool. It certainly was my only one for a while until I studied Sufism. And I don't like that astrology is not recognized as sacred. Certainly not by the general public that don't know much about astrology, therefore it can't work. But also by astrologers, and certainly therefore by student astrologers. They don't approach it with sacredness. Now, the very sense of getting into a state of sacredness to approach astrology is what awakens the psychic ability and the channeling. So if you treat astrology as a science or pseudoscience, only using a certain aspect of your brain, you're missing the point. If you approach it with sacredness, however, and a sense of mystery, then you're awakening this deeper facility. And that's why I've studied Sabian Symbols, which does that really well. That's why I've studied Elven Star, which goes even further into this mysterious vibration of seven. And so I've come at astrology from the point of view of Sufism. Actually, I've studied astrology through the eyes of a Sufi. Sufis study astrology in a different way, but they certainly recognize astrology to be a very meaningful spiritual practice. So I approach astrology with a spiritual attitude, and I rather hope that the students would do the same and respect and want that and prefer that.
Amazing.
Thank you.